Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vinda.
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vinda.
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vinda.
Hare Krishna. It's August 31st, 2025. Today's the appearance day of Srimati Radharani. And so, we'll just we might go to different places in our reading and discussion today. I did both invocations of Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That's the first line of the first verse of the 18,000 verse Srimad Bhagavatam. And also we did Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya, Jai Nityananda, Jai Advaita Chandra, Jai Gaura Bhaktivinoda, because we're going to read from Chaitanya Charitamrita too. Srimati Radharani is a featured star in both literatures. Yeah, she's arguably the featured personality in both literature, Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yes, so let's see here. This is Adi Leela Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 4, text 89. Srila Krishna's Kaviraj, these are like the first 12 chapters of Chaitanya Charitamrita. They like create the foundation before Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami gets into the pastimes. He gives a philosophical foundation for the rest of the 50 chapters. So he writes, therefore, Radha is Paramadevata, the supreme goddess, and she is worshipable for everyone. She is the protectress of all, and she is the mother of the entire universe. Okay, so she's the mother of the entire universe. She's there's increasingly, as years and decades go on, the whole thing of goddess worship. Goddess, that's like an increasingly popular thing. I know back in 2005, 2006, we conducted Safito Foundational Advanced Seminars at the Earth Spirit Center, Glastonbury, England. And we actually did a little time outside of the seminar room, and we had a tour of Glastonbury. There is something called the Tor there, which is the tower. And some English poets, many believe that in those unknown years of Jesus, he walked in Glastonbury. And did those feet in ancient times. There's songs about things like that. And also Srila Prabhupada gives indication that Jesus went to India and Jagannath Puri, like that. And they could both be true. It doesn't need to be this or that. And so Glastonbury is known as the planetary center of goddess worship. So Srimati Radharani, she's the goddess with the capital G. She's the source of all goddesses, the ground and foundation of all goddesses. And so then I'll read something we read yesterday. We'll go there again. And this is from Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Srila Sanatana Goswami. And in his teachings to Srila Sanatana Goswami, Lord Chaitanya, he describes the 25 transcendental qualities of Srimati Radharani. Of course, she possesses unlimited transcendental qualities, and these are 25 sometimes we categorize things like that. Like Krishna has unlimited, infinite qualities, and sometimes it's described as 64 qualities, described in Nectar of Devotion like that. So this is text 87 to 91, Majja Lila, chapter 23. Srimati Radharani's 25 chief transcendental qualities are: 1, she is very sweet. 2, she is always freshly youthful. 3, her eyes are restless. 4, she smiles brightly. 5, she has beautiful, auspicious lines. 6, she makes Krishna happy with her bodily aroma. 7, she is very expert in singing. 8, her speech is charming. 9, she is very expert in joking and speaking pleasantly. 10, she is very humble and meek. 11, she is always full of mercy. 12, she is cunning. 13, she is expert in executing her duties. 14, she is shy. 15, she is always respectful. 16, she is always calm. 17, she is always grave. 18, she is expert in enjoying life. 19, she is situated at the topmost level of ecstatic love. 20, she is the reservoir of loving affairs in Gokula. 21, she is the most famous of submissive devotees. 22, she is very affectionate to elderly people. 23, she is very submissive to the love of her friends. 24, she is the chief gopi. 25, she always keeps Krishna under her control. In short, she possesses unlimited transcendental qualities, just as Lord Krishna does. Hare Krishna. Okay, and there are so many places in Prabhupada's books and lectures and conversations where the pastimes in the qualities and of Srimati Radharani are described. Um, yeah, and I will say that because like there's a few recorded lectures, where Srila Prabhupada gives a lecture on Sri Radhastami. And well, a general principle is this Madhurya Ras, the conjugal relationship, the pastimes of Srimati Radha and Sri Krishna. They're very esoteric. They are not the ABCs of spiritual life. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada calls the ABCs of spiritual life like Dihinosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir tirasta tranamuyati. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from childhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at the time of death. The difference between spirit and matter, soul and body. And so like to the extent that we're not getting that, so we can see that whatever education we had prior, we didn't quite get to the kindergarten ABCs. We see it from the transcendental perspective. So the pastimes of Radharani and Krishna, these are not the ABCs. So they're very esoteric. And when Prabhupada, if we look at his Sri Radhastami lectures, he tends to talk about we're not the body, how we're entangled in the three modes of material nature. Follow the regular principles, no drugs, no illicits, very basic stuff. You would think, we might think, that the appearance of Srimati Radharani would be the time when Srila Prabhupada will enter into those more esoteric pastimes and descriptions. And for the most part, he doesn't. For the most part, he doesn't. And Hare Krishna Rukmini Haribo, welcome. And he talks about very fundamental things because he's very, very careful, very, very cautious about just throwing around, not just the pastimes or the qualities of Srimati Radhi, Radharani. Even the name we mentioned yesterday, that, like, for example, in Srila Prabhupada's Maha Mantra description on the happening album December, it's his purport on the Maha Mantra. And he talks about Krishna, he talks about Rama. And when he talks about Hare, because Hare is Srimati Radharani, and it's the feminine essence of the divine. And it appears 8 times in the Maha Mantra, more than Krishna and Rama, right? But he never once mentions the name Radharani. So, is he neglecting the name Radharani? No, he's protecting. He's very protective. It's not that the divine mother of the whole creation needs protection. Still, the devotee cherishes the preciousness of Srimati Radharani. And so it's not something to take cheaply. So Prabhupada's very appropriately, extremely cautious about the name and the pastimes of Srimati Radharani. And so yesterday we also had some class and discussion, and we focused on Srimati Radharani. And we'll read a bit more today. And so there's this quote, there's this text that Srila Prabhupada often quotes from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ateva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhikami Sakali Ashanta. That as long as we have any desires, even a desire for liberation, what to speak of a desire for material gratification or a desire for mystic power, Mukti Bhukti Siddhikam, any sort of desire that is in any way tinged with self-serving propensity, we won't be peaceful. And only when Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Atevasha, only when our only desire is to serve Krishna without, in a way that's ahetuki pratyataya atma suprasidati, that's unmotivated, unconditional, only then will we be peaceful and truly happy. That's the Atma Rama happiness. The Greek philosopher Epictetus said, the essence of all philosophy is to live such that one's happiness depends as little as possible on external things. So that comes when we direct the unavoidable propensity for desire to serve Krishna. And then, now the term for that is not common. The term is nishkama, desirelessness. They say, well, it's a desire. So you can say it's a desire, but it's the natural state and expression of the soul. Because there's no self-serving element in simply wanting to please Krishna. And of course, we learn how to please Krishna by accepting and serving his pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. So, okay. So what's Sri Radhastami about? Srimati Radharani is that she is the personification, the embodiment of selfless service to Krishna, of what is technically called desirelessness. It's not an impersonal or voidist desirelessness, right? As we sometimes say in a playful way. You have to get rid of all desire because my desires cause me problems. So just get rid of all desire, in some path, spiritual or pseudo-spiritual paths try to take us there. So sounds nice. The only problem being that is completely impossible. And other than that, we can go for it for millions of lifetimes with more and more frustration, because then we'll get into infinite regress loops. Like, all right, I should just desire to stop desiring. Let me really, but wait a second, and that's self-defeating. And like that. So then when we direct our desire in a selfless way, to just please Krishna, please Krishna's pure devotee, that's actually, in Sanskrit, it's called nishkama, desirelessness. So Srimati Radharani is the emblem of that. So we don't try to imitate Srimati Radharani. Srila Prabhupada encourages, he encourages following the principle and not imitating the details, like that. So we want to We want to see what's the principle. And yes, so that's why we follow in the mood of Srimati Radharani and our sincere followers to come to that desire, that Vaishnava bhakti desireless state. And so she's the goddess of all goddesses. She's the feminine counterwhole of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and she's the best servant of Krishna. And so that's why our goal is to awaken our natural love for Krishna. And so we follow Srimati Radharani. And as we mentioned yesterday, here as aspiring followers of Srila Prabhupada, we can see this Gopi Bhava. Radharani Bhava means the mood, the spirit. That's we can think of like Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna in the bushes of Vrindavan, like that. Well, we can go there. And perhaps most inspiringly for me, Gopi Bhava, that's Srila Prabhupada at the age of 70 getting on the Jaladuta and coming to the West and rising at 1 a.m. to give us his transcendental purports, and is working so hard to give us Srimati Radharani consciousness. That's Gopi Bhava. The essence of Srimati Radharani and the gopis is they want everyone to join the pastimes of Vrindavan. So no one exemplifies that dedication, that selfless dedication like Srila Prabhupada. He was in Vrindavan. He was there at Radhakund. He was there at Radha Govinda temple in the town where everyone's greeting everyone else. Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe. He was there and he left because he wants to bring us there. And there is not intrinsically about let's go buy a plane ticket to Delhi. It's essentially this Radha Kund, Gopi Bhava. It's a consciousness. It's a consciousness that we get to create in our lives and in our homes and in our hearts. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said his mission is to transform everyone's heart into a temple of Sri Sri Radha Krishna. So that's Gopi Bhav for us. And okay, I'll just read a few excerpts here because so Prabhupada, he tends to not go to, let's call it those esoteric pastimes and descriptions, even on Sri Radhastami, and there's an important message there. He doesn't want us to do anukarana, which means blind imitation. He doesn't want us to become sahajiyas. He doesn't want us to enter into a so-called practice of bhakti that's bogus. And that's actually bringing gross material conceptions to the transcendental realm. He's protecting us. And then sometimes it's heard, oh yeah, so to really go to those more esoteric, more advanced levels of bhakti, you need to go beyond what Prabhupada gave. That complete, utter 100% garbage, nonsense. I could use stronger words, but I'll stop there. So it's all there in Prabhupada's teachings. He's just very careful how and when he presents it. We'll read a few texts. This is from the conversation between Srila Ramananda Roy and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is Madhya Lila chapter 8. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nayanya, he's a combined form of Radha and Krishna. And the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita is about what's that mean, a combined form of Radha Krishna. We tend to maybe go there more like Gaur Purnima. I'm not going to go there so much, but that's described in depth, and especially in the Adi Lila, what that means. So Lord Chaitanya puts himself in the role of student to Sri Ramananda Roy. We'll just read a few texts. So Ramananda Roy is speaking to Lord Chaitanya. When the gopis were overwhelmed with dissatisfaction due to Lord Krishna's absence from the Rasa Lila, Krishna returned to them and told them, "My dear gopis, our meeting is certainly free from all material contamination. I must admit that in many lives it would be impossible for me to repay my debt to you, because you have cut off the bondage of family life just to search for me. Consequently, I am unable to repay you. Therefore, please be satisfied with your honest activities in this regard. Although Krishna's unparalleled beauty is the topmost sweetness of love of Godhead, his sweetness increases unlimitedly when he is in the company of the gopis. Consequently, Krishna's exchange of love with the gopis is the topmost perfection of love of Godhead. Although the son of Devaki, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is also the reservoir of all kinds of beauty, when he is among the gopis, he nonetheless becomes more beautiful, for he resembles a Marakata jewel surrounded by gold and other jewels. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, "This is certainly the limit of perfection, but please be merciful to me and speak more if there is more." Text 97, Ramananda Roy replied, "Until this day, I did not know anyone within this material world who could inquire beyond this perfectional stage of devotional service. Among the loving affairs of the gopis," Ramananda Roy continued, the love of Srimati Radharani for Sri Krishna is topmost. Indeed, the glories of Srimati Radharani are highly estimated in all revealed scriptures. Just as Srimati Radharani is most dear to Sri Krishna, her bathing place known as Radhakund is also dear to him. Among all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is supermost and very dear to Lord Krishna. Text 100. When the gopis began to talk among themselves, they said, "Dear friends, the gopi who has been taken away by Krishna to a secluded place must have worshipped the Lord more than anyone else." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The name Radha is derived from this verse, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 30, Text 28, from the word Anaya Radhita, meaning by her the Lord is worshipped. Sometimes the critics of Srimad Bhagavatam find it difficult to find Radharani's holy name, but the secret is disclosed here in the word Aradhita, from which the word Radha has come. Of course, the name of Radharani is directly mentioned in other Puranas. This gopi's worship of Krishna is topmost, and therefore her name is Radha, or the topmost worshipper. So Radha, two complementary meanings there. The topmost worshipper of Krishna, and um, um, by her the Lord is worshipped. Text 101, chapter 8, Madhya Lila Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Please speak on. I am very happy to hear you because a river of unprecedented nectar is flowing from your mouth." Text 102. During the Rasa dance, Sri Krishna did not exchange loving affairs with Srimati Radharani due to the presence of the other gopis. Because of the dependence of the others, the intensity of love between Radha and Krishna was not manifest. Therefore, he stole her away. Purport: out of fear of the other gopis, Lord Sri Krishna took Srimati Radharani to a secluded place. In this regard, the verse Kam Sarir Api, the following verse 106, will be quoted from the Gita Govinda of Jayadev Goswami. Continuing on in the text, if Lord Krishna rejected the company of the other gopis for Srimati Radharani, we can understand that Lord Sri Krishna has intense affection for her. Ramananda Roy continued, "Please therefore hear from me about the glories of Srimati Radharani's loving affairs. They are beyond compare within these three worlds." Finding herself treated equally with all the other gopis, Srimati Radharani displayed her tricky behavior and left the circle of the rasa dance. Missing Srimati Radharani's presence, Krishna became very unhappy and began to lament and wander throughout the forest to search her out. Lord Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, took Srimati Radharani within his heart, for he desired to dance with her. Thus he left the area of the rasa dance and the company of all the other beautiful damsels of Raj. Being afflicted by the arrow of Cupid and unhappily regretting his mistreating Radharani, Madhava, Lord Krishna, began to search for Srimati Radharani along the banks of the Yamuna River. When he failed to find her, he entered the bushes of Vrindavan and began to lament. Simply by considering these two verses, one can understand what nectar there is in such dealings. It is exactly like freeing a mine of nectar. Although Krishna was in the midst of hundreds of thousands of gopis during the rasa dance, he still kept himself in one of his transcendental forms by the side of Srimati Radharani. Lord Krishna is equal to everyone in his general dealings, but due to the conflicting ecstatic love of Srimati Radharani, there were opposing elements. The progress of loving affairs between young couples is like the movement of a snake. On account of this, two types of anger arise between young couples: anger with cause and anger without cause. Srila Prabhupada's purport. During the rasa dance, one form of Krishna was between every two gopis. However, by the side of Srimati Radharani, there was only one Krishna. Although this was the case, Srimati Radharani still manifested disagreement with Krishna. This verse is from the Ujjval Nilamani, Sringara Veda Katana 102, written by Srila Rupa Goswami. Text 112, Ramananda Roy speaking to Lord Chaitanya. When Radharani, out of anger and resentment, left the rasa dance, Lord Sri Krishna, not seeing her, became very anxious. Lord Krishna's desire in the Rasa Leela circle is perfectly complete, but Srimati Radharani is the binding link in that desire. The rasa dance does not shine in the heart of Krishna without Srimati Radharani. Therefore, he also gave up the circle of the rasa dance and went out to search for her. When Krishna went out to search for Srimati Radharani, he wandered here and there. However, not finding her, he became afflicted by the arrow of Cupid and began to lament. Hare Krishna. Just getting a taste of a few drops of these pastimes. Hare Krishna. I thought as part of our program, again, there's at least 3 lectures that I know of, 1 in Montreal and 2 in London, that where Srila Prabhupada spoke on Sri Radhastami. And so, in what this is, I have one. I hope it works the way I'm expecting it to work. That we'll just hear something from Srila Prabhupada on Sri Radhastami. Okay, and this one is 1969 Montreal, maybe 1968. Okay, okay. Let's hear.
Radharani is the pleasure potency of Krishna. Krishna is the supreme Brahma. Just try to understand. Krishna is the supreme Brahma, Param Brahma, Paramadhava, Pavitram Paramam Bhava. So, Parabrahma. Otherwise, we cannot have this enjoying spirit. Because we are Sanatan transcend. Therefore, we have got that enjoying spirit. Materially contaminated. There. Because Krishna is enjoying. This enjoying spirit we have got also, but I do not know how to enjoy. We are trying to enjoy in the matter, in the dull matter. That is spiritual. So, yeah, people are trying to know what is Brahma Sukha, Brahma Bhava. It's not material present. So many yogis, he's not there, meditating, to achieve that Brahma pleasure. The idea is Brahma pleasure. So many brahmacharis, so many sannyasis, they are trying to achieve the Brahma pleasure, and in order to achieve the Brahma pleasure, they are neglecting, they are kicking off all this material pleasure. Do you think that Brahma pleasure is ordinary, this material pleasure? To achieve a portion of Brahma pleasure, they are kicking off all this material pleasure. Don't talk of ourselves, we are ordinary men. We are in the history, we have got instances that a Bharat Maharaj, young man, this is the story of God. Oriental country, people, girls are always dancing and giving pleasure to the king and the queen. So Lord Buddha was also in such pleasure, but he gave up everything and began to meditate. There are many hundreds of instances in Indian history that to realize the Brahma pleasure, they gave up everything. They gave up everything. That is the way. Tapasya means voluntarily accepting something severe, realizing the supreme pleasure. That is called tapasya. So, if for tasting a little Brahma pleasure, all the fear is he's enjoying Lakshmi Sahasrama Sri Bhumanam. Thousands of goddesses have fought on and engaged in his service. Do you think these are things? Oh, this is Mr. Chimpaya Rasa Pratibhanavitari. This is what is Chimpaya Salavi. In the I find fire transcendental pleasure potency. And these gopis, this pleasure potency is not ordinary woman like we are, our wife, or sister, or mother. No. She is the pleasure potency. And the birth of Radharani was not from the womb of any human being. She was found by her father in the field. While his father was plowing, he saw one little nice child is lying there, and he had no children, so he caught it and presented to the queen. Oh, here we have got a very nice child. How you got her in the field? Yes, Radharani's Janma is like that. So this Janma is today, and Radha, his name, his name is not in the Srimad Bhagavatam. How this name came, Radha? But they do not know how to see it. There is another way. say Radha has come. But he was India. Remember, he cannot enjoy anything. Atman, he can enjoy in himself. Therefore, Radharani is the expansion of his pleasure potential. Krishna hasn't got to seek external things for his pleasure. No, he is in himself full, Atmana. So, Radharani is expansion of Krishna. Krishna is the energetic and Radharani is the energy. Actually, energy and energetic you cannot separate. But of Radha and Krishna in one verse, very nice verse. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikiti Alhadini Sakti Rasma Ekatmana Bhavi Bhuvi Dhira Nugato. So, Radha and Krishna is the one supreme. In our people, into one. Chaitanya Saptakamaduna. That one means Krishna in the ecstasy of Radha. Sometimes Krishna is in ecstasy of Radha. Sometimes Radha is in ecstasy of Krishna. This is going on. But the whole thing is Radha and Krishna means the one, the supreme. So Radha Krishna philosophy is a very great philosophy. It is to be understood in the liberated state. Radha Krishna philosophy is not to be understood in the conditioned state. But when we worship Radha Krishna in our conditional state, actually we worship Lakshmi Narayana. You have seen that picture. There is Dhira Marga and Radha Marga. Radha Krishna worship is on the platform of pure love. And Lakshmi Narayana worship is on the regulated principle. So long we do not develop our pure love, we have to see, one has to become a brahmachari, one has to become a sannyasi, one has to perform the worship in this way. In the morning he has to rise, he has to offer so many rules and regulations. There are at least 64 rules and regulations. So we can introduce them gradually as you develop. So in the Dhira Marga, when you have no love for God or Krishna, we have to follow the regulated principle and automatically there's practice and practicing. Just like you practice this mridanga playing, in the beginning it is not in order, but when you become well versed in the practice, the sound will come so nice. Similarly, when we are engaged by regulative principles in the worship of Radha Krishna, that is called Dhira Marga. And actually, when you are on this love platform, then that is called Radha Marga. So, without Dhira Marga, if anyone wants to learn the Radha Marga immediately, that is foolishness. That is foolishness. Nobody can pass any examination without going through the regulative principles of primary schools and colleges. So, therefore, I do not, indulge in the discussions of Radha and Krishna so easily. It is regulated. Present moment, gradually, as now on the transcendental platform, you will understand what is Radha Krishna. Don't try to understand Radha Krishna very quickly. It is a very big subject. If we want to understand Radha Krishna very quickly, then there will be so many Prasita Sahaja. In India, there are Prasita Sahaja, just like Radha Krishna dancing, Radha Krishna has become a plaything. The same thing, Radha Krishna is kissing, Radha is kissing. These are all nonsense. Radha Krishna philosophy has to be understood by the liberated person, not by the conditioned soul. So, we shall await for the fortunate moment when we are liberated, then we shall understand Radha Krishna Pranayamriti. Because Krishna and Radha, they are not on the material field. Try to understand, this is Jiva Goswami's analysis, that Krishna is the Supreme Brahma. The Supreme Brahma cannot accept anything material. So Radha is not in the material field. Now, there is a very nice song. This is a Rupa Goswami's song. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Go. Jaya Daite. Was done by Goswami. He is the real person, actual person to understand Radha and Krishna. So he says, all yogis are. So he says, oh, dear Krishna, Krishna, everyone is Krishna. Safety, just presence. Everyone, the whole world, the whole universe, distributing Krishna Prema. Krishna Prema is so valuable. Krishna is after Radha. See how Radharani is great. Just trying to understand the greatness of Radharani. Therefore, she is so great, and we have to offer her respect. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava. How she is Gokula Tarani Mandala Mahite. Taruni is young girl. It has all young girls. But the young girl is the most beautiful. So beautiful. Gokula Tarani Mandala Mahite. Saravati Vardhana Bese. And she always places hands so nicely that Damodar, Krishna, becomes attracted by her beauty. Hari Nishkuta Billa Bibinese. And she is the only lovable object of Krishna. And she is the queen of Vrindavan. The queen of Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, if you go to Vrindavan, everyone is worshipping Rani. Rani means queen. They are always speaking Jara Devi. All the devotees in Vrindavan, they are worshipper of Radharani. Riniskuta Vrinda Bipine. Vrishabhanudodhi Navasesile. And she appeared as the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and her companion Lalita Sakhi and Vishaka Sati, and the devotees on behalf of the pure devotees of Krishna, Rupa Goswami is praying, Karuna Ankurumai Karuna Bharite. My worshipful Radharani, you are full of mercy, so I am begging of your mercy because you are so merciful, very easily you offer, bestow your mercy. So I am begging your mercy. Karunam Kurumai, Karuna Bhurite, Sanaka Samanatana Bodnite Charite. Now somebody may say, oh, you are so great, learned scholar, you are so great saintly person, and you are begging mercy from an ordinary girl. How is that? Therefore, Rupa Goswami says, oh, this is not ordinary girl. Sanaka Sanatana Bodnita Charite. This girl's description is possible to be made by great saintly person like Sanatana. This is not ordinary. So, the lesson is that we should not treat Radhastami as ordinary girl or Krishna as ordinary man. This is the absolute truth. In the absolute truth, the Govinda is disciplined Lord. Thank you. Chant Hare Krishna. You can chant. Can you chant? Janata? All right, you can.
Hare Krishna. Narayani and Rukmini, thanks for visiting.
She's tired. She
Yes, yes.
intensive day yesterday.
I appreciated your presence, Rukmini. Thank you. Can we get some container of prasad? In the oven, there's a prep, and in the fridge, in the refrigerator, there's salad prep. We'll give you some container of prasad.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimati Radharani ki jai. Shri Radhastami ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. There's I don't know if you know, but there is a British rock band that I think they made a song back in the 90s of that specific verse that Prabhupada speaks about. You heard about it? No? I will send you perhaps.
Okay, I'll be glad to receive it. I think I might know what you're referring to and which band, but
Kula Shaker.
Kula Shaker, yeah.
Right, and it was all over like different music channels like MTV, I think even.
Right, about the Rupa Goswami's Bhajan and Srimati Radharani there.
Right.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, happy Radhastami.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Ramachandra. Any other comments, discussion, sharing, questions?
It was hard to hear Prabhupada speaking on our end over here. Would you do a little summary on what he shared?
Okay, so it was difficult to hear. Okay, thanks for sharing that. That's good feedback. I guess for next time I could consider trying to get it on the computer and do share computer sound, and that might be. So okay, thanks for the question. So let's see if we can. So were we able to hear Prabhupada singing the Bhajan?
It was kind of in and out.
Okay, all right. Yes. So there's a bhajan where the chorus is Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Jaya Radha. What's the chorus? Madhava Dayate, servant. So it's so Prabhupada is singing a bhajan by Srila Rupa Goswami. That enters into it's a very intimate bhajan. Enters into the mood of Srimati Radharani and the gopis and Srimati Rani's special place amongst the gopis. And Srila Prabhupada was saying kind of some of the things that we read and covered before we turned on Srila Prabhupada's lecture. that well, he described the word, where the word Radha comes from. It's kind of concealed because Radharani, that name is not in the Bhagavatam, but the name is there on Ayana Radhita, and meaning the one who the best worshiper of Krishna. And Prabhupada, he was warning against the Prakrita Sahajiyas, those who take Krishna consciousness cheaply, and they bring material conceptions to the to the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, and they cause Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharacha Vidimida Aikantaki Harer Bhakti Utpadaya Vikapate, and they cause a disturbance. They cause a disturbance, and he's warned. And then Prabhupada said, he said that's why I don't indulge in these qualities and pastimes of Srimati Radharani and Radha Krishna. They're there, but they're very precious. They're very, yeah, it takes a special qualification to enter into them. So we need to be humble and cautious. That was, that was a key point that I picked up there. And then Prabhupada was making a distinction between Raga Bhakti and Vidhi, or regulative principles. And he's saying that, so basically he was giving the point, as we serve more and more, as we serve Srimati Radharani through our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, as we follow regular principles, chant Hare Krishna, as we serve with sincerity, in what's called Vidhi Bhakti, Sadhana Bhakti, then our heart gets purified. Then we can begin to enter into the understanding of the qualities of Srimati Radharani and the pastimes of Sri Sri Radha Krishna. And he cautioned against trying to rush to the raga stage, is the spontaneous stage, where in a sense one's at a level they don't need to follow regular principles because their senses and mind are just naturally only attracted to that which pleases Radharani and Krishna. And he said, like, it's really only at that stage that we can grasp what these pastimes are and how there's nothing material about them. A key point from Srila Prabhupada is that so many yogis and brahmacharis and mystics and jnanis and so many people are striving for Brahman happiness, kind of like Brahman, spiritual, the oneness, the one happiness. Manusyanam saseshu kashtit yatati siddhi yatatama bisidam kaschimam veti tatvata. That Krishna says, that's the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, text 3. It's relatively rare for people, and especially in Kali Yuga, to even endeavor. Hare Krishna, thanks for joining us. Right, in Dhira Govinda Das. Yeah.
Dhira and then Govinda, okay. Yeah, and I gifted to you, we just started our family business called Pressed Oils.
Oh, nice.
I want, if you want, I gifted to you sesame oil. Yeah.
I appreciate that, but Prashad distribution is a family business. Nice.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. So Krishna says it's rare for someone to try for happiness that's not just material sense gratification, gross or subtle material sense gratification. And then, okay, of those who try for it, practically all of them try for enjoying the Brahman, the impersonal liberation. Okay, you can just close the door there. Thank you. And so then Krishna says, and of those who try for that, then it's just one in thousands and thousands who actually come to Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada was making the point in what we heard, that great mystics and yogis and jnanis, the great spiritualists, they're trying for the Brahman happiness. And Krishna is Parabrahman. Krishna is Parabrahman. He's the supreme Brahman. He's Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Krishna is the source of the Brahma Gyoti. He's the source of that. So then Prabhupada was making the point. So how could Krishna be interested in like ordinary material romance or material women or material girls? He was saying, he was asking rhetorically, does that make any sense? That the great sages and mystics, they're looking for the happiness of Brahman, and Krishna is the source of Brahman. And only it's a rare spiritualist who who actually succeeds to achieve love of Krishna. And that requires someone who's completely beyond any material desires, and they're completely desireless, and they only want Krishna. So does it make sense that Krishna would be attracted to material happiness of any kind? So Prabhupada went through it like a negative rhetorical literary device. Is that reasonable? No, it's not reasonable. So Prabhupada's establishing philosophically and logically. So therefore, Krishna's attraction to Radharani and Radharani's attraction to Krishna, completely non-material. That's one point he made towards the beginning of what we heard. And there are so many, and Prabhupada gave so many examples. One example, the main speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, it's described about it. Atmaram, that's the quintessential Atmarama verse. Atmaramas chamunayo yirgvanti apyukrame kravanti hetu kim bhakti nitam bhutaguno hari. It's in the first canto. Srila Shukadeva Goswami, he was Atmarama. He was completely self-satisfied. He's not looking externally. He has no interest in anything material. Completely self-satisfied. And in the second canto, first chapter, Shukadeva Goswami says the same about him. I was completely self-satisfied. No material hankering or lamenting, not gross or subtle. Oh, I want to be popular or something like that. No sense gratification. Yeah, he was so transcendental that even when he passed by the pond where the young beautiful damsels were bathing, they didn't even bother to cover their body, because they could see like this person, he's not even making distinctions, woman body, man body. Then his father, Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Vedas, passed by, and Vyasadeva was in the Grihastha ashram, and the damsels covered their body, just to give an indication of how pure Shukadeva was. And Shukadeva is interested, Shukadeva was enthusiastically interested when he heard in the forest there were some devotee sages chanting Bhagavatam about the pastimes of Krishna and Srimati Radharani and Mother Yashoda and the Rasa Leela. And Shukadeva Goswami was attracted to that. So that's the proof that these Krishna pastimes, Sri Radha Krishna pastimes, they're not material. It's not like any sort of ordinary romance. And that's why Prabhupada, he emphasized. So Srimati Radharani, she's not an ordinary woman like our wives or mothers or sisters or something like that. This is completely transcendental. So those are some highlights that I picked up from Prabhupada's talk.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhakti and Valerie. Hare Krishna. Any other comments or questions at this time? Bhakti and Moza.
Well, the big book you have there at the bottom of the page right there, it talked about Krishna's qualities and that there was an opposing force. I don't know that I understood that part. Could you describe it?
Okay, sure. Thanks for your question. So that's text 110 of chapter 8, Bhajan Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Krishna is equal to everyone in his general dealings. Krishna is equal. He's not partial. He's not like doing like he needs our votes or something like that. Okay, he's not like you're my enemy, you're my friend. Krishna is impartial. Krishna is equal to everyone in his general dealings, but due to the conflicting ecstatic love of Srimati Radharani, there were opposite elements. And then it goes into, in loving affairs, there's anger with cause and anger without cause, and like that. So meaning that, so this is all transcendental, trans phenomenal. So Krishna is impartial. At the same time, he's clearly partial to Srimati Radharani. And because even amongst the residents of Vrindavan and the gopis, but Prabhupada quoted, and related to Valerie's question, Prabhupada quoted, Chintamani prakara satmasu kalpa vriksha laksha viteshu surabir abhipalayantam lakshmi sahasra satasam brahma sevyamanam Govinda madi pusham tamaham bhajami. That Krishna is surrounded by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis or gopis, and he's equal to all of them. But he's especially partial to Srimati Radharani because her love is just the most selfless. Not that the others have any material contamination. So so that he becomes partial to Srimati Radharani, and that's why there was one Krishna was especially giving attention to her, and like that. Anything else at this time?
Her unique quality is sweetness.
What's that?
Radharani's unique quality is her sweetness.
Her sweetness, yes. Sweetness, yeah.
That was the first one.
I think that's the first one we have. We read it from the Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Sanatan Goswami, and then this bookmark from 1998. The first of the 25 qualities is listed as she is sweetness personified. First one, sweetness personified. Sweetness, thanks for that. So then, to the extent that we genuinely, with sincerity, follow in the spirit of Srimati Radharani, not imitating, but following in this, not imitating the rasa, but following the essential tattva as servants of Krishna, Eklayeshvara Krishna Arasabhabhritya, then we also transform to become more and more sweet in our consciousness and personality. Yeah. Thanks for that, Rukmini. Hare Krishna. So we'll bring the talk and discussion to a close, and we'll have some kirtan and then prasadam. Shri Radhastami ki.
Jai.
Shrimati Radharani ki.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Shri Chaitanya Rita ki.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Thanks for your presence and association.
Hare Krishna.